We're back
Yes, sir.
again. Episode number 25. How you guys doing?
Doing better than better. I'm doing
Jorie,
nice.
I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely fine right now.
Yeah. You know, Kobe, your Nets, picking up a nice little dub yesterday.
Couldn't be more happier with how they played without Harden. So it's good signs. Good signs coming.
Nuggets have game one of their series tomorrow, so or Monday, I guess, when you're hearing this. So it'll be interesting. Justin, sorry to say that. Hey man, it happens to the rest of us. You'll be back.
Hey man, all I'm saying is if the Hawks had Nate McMillan from day one, we wouldn't even have had to play them until the second round anyway. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
but the Hawks are better than they appear.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That being said, before we even get into any of this playoff basketball, we do have some bits of news that we want to mention. So first up, a little bit of change in the front office for the Boston Celtics. That being Danny Ainge, who's been the executive director of basketball operations for Boston since 2003. He's retiring from that position, and current Celtics head coach Brad Stevens is going to be promoted to that position, taking over the franchise, going to be running that franchise. I mean, it's a weird offseason to have some changeover for Boston. They've had a lot of success in the past years under Stevens, but now this is not the best season they're coming off of, and this offseason is going to be tough because they don't have a lot of draft picks, and Jason Tatum's max contract that he signed in 2020 is going to kick in next season. So they also don't really have a lot of money to spend in free agency. That being said, I mean, what do you guys think is the next step for Boston? How do they bounce back and, get back to what they were, conference finals team?
My theory is a bit outrageous, so I'll let Toby go first.
Okay. So I think Boston is in a good position, even though people will criticize them for making the playoffs year after year and getting bounced out in either the conference finals or say like the first round this year, which is kind of unfair in my opinion, but that's regardless of the fact. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're kind of remind me of PG and Kawhi, maybe to a lesser degree, but that kind of like two forwards kind of duo that are elite. And with that, I'm not sure if Kemba is the right third star for that team. I mean, Kemba is good, but in my opinion, Boston needs a better big man. And I think that would take them a lot further or next year, I should say. A couple big men that are going to be on the market this year that could possibly be in their price range if they were looking to go that direction would be Jared Allen and Raquan Holmes, two players in which I thoroughly think that they're going to be, great players or at least good players going into the future. So if they were to get either one of those two players, I think they're pretty good. I mean, I don't know if they're going to make the finals again, if Brooklyn is going to have their big three or, Philly, but those two players would be able to bounce bodies with Embiid, Giannis, and, make it a lot harder for them, I think, in the future.
All right, you made some good points there, Toby, but I'm not sure if I agree with that statement about the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum duo. Okay. As a matter of fact, I don't think that will ever work, at least for a championship. Okay. if Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum stay together, no doubt they'll be a playoff team. No doubt they'll be a playoff team almost every year. But I think they should trade Jaylen Brown. I think that if they want to make a championship run, they're going to have to trade him for more picks. They're just going to have to keep doing what's working. If it keeps working, don't fix it. So I think they trade him for picks, many pieces as you can get, because if we're being honest, their team is not very deep either.
I disagree.
Well, let me finish. I think it'll be good for I think it'll also be good for Jaylen Brown because he won't be getting overshadowed anymore. He'll be able to break out into, I'm that guy for a championship team. I think that'll work out swimmingly for both parties.
Do you think he is that guy? You think he can be that guy on a championship team?
Yeah, I think so. I think with his work ethic, give him 2-3 years, he'll be just as good as Jason Tatum is.
I don't know.
Especially if he gets traded. I think if he's out on his own, the work ethic and all that is just going to elevate.
Yeah, but I don't think trading for more picks would be the right move. I mean, I feel like they already have such a young team already that some of those, role players off the bench need to. I mean, I do admit though, some of those role players I'm talking about maybe shouldn't be on the team next year. But I don't know if getting picks is the right move. Voice crack.
You did change my thinking a little bit, Toby, because I do think you're right with how young of a team that they are. I do think that they might need to move in the direction of veterans instead of more picks and young guys. So you might be onto something there, but I still do think they need to trade Jaylen Brown.
Okay, interesting.
I feel like
I don't know what for. I don't know where to, but trade him.
I feel like their most tradable player is actually Marcus Smart because he's still only 27. He's coming off a career year in which he averaged career high in points and assists. He's obviously, a really stout defender. And he only has 1 year left on his contract. So a team might look at that and be like, oh, well, players generally play well in contract years, obviously. I don't know if trading Jaylen Brown is the right idea. I just don't think that's a good idea. I feel like it's too early to give up on these two because, we didn't even get to see Jaylen Brown in this year's playoffs, I don't think they would have took down Brooklyn, but it could have been interesting or more interesting than what it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like you got to give them time and you got to just do a better job surrounding them with talent. Like Toby said, find a better big man. I like Robert Williams, but I don't know if he's the answer as their starting center, I don't think that's really what you want going up against someone like Joel Embiid. But I don't know. I think finding the right coach might actually be what unlocks this team. That's not to say Brad Stevens was bad in any sense. I think he might have even overachieved as their head coach. But I think finding the right head coach for this team certainly going to help them bounce back next year. But could take some time. But then again, Jason Tatum, I think Kevin Durant after their series ended, he was saying he's up there with, he said he reminds him of a young Kobe almost. So yeah. High praise for the budding superstar in Boston. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's different. He's going to be one of those, I don't know if I should say game-changing stars, but I will say he's definitely going to get at least one ring before he retires.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. He's one of the elite scorers in the NBA already, and he's still so young. So we'll see. But another team that's had some turnover within their organization, the Portland Trailblazers, another team that got bounced in the first round this year. They let go of their head coach, Terry Stotts, who had been their coach for the past 9 years. He had made the playoffs for 8 consecutive years, which was actually the longest active streak in the league at the moment. And he's the second winningest coach in franchise history with 402 wins. But I mean, this whole situation in Portland, I feel like has just been kind of kicked down the road for far too long, to where it's like I don't think they were ever really a championship contender. Do you guys? I mean, what does Portland do now? Because it seems like this is probably the last season we're going to see, CJ and Dame in the backcourt. Melo could potentially leave this offseason. I feel like this whole roster is going to look very different next year. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking a lot of things, Jorie. I'm
hear it.
thinking a whole bunch of things.
Could we see Dame in a different uniform next season? Is that a possibility, or is that just too crazy? Is that?
Nope.
We will most definitely see Dame in a different uniform next season, and we're going to see him in a little bit of orange and blue, baby, because the Knicks are gonna. The Knicks actually, I can't remember what team. Can't remember what team it was, but Thibodeau and Terry Stotts were both assistants on a team back in the early 2000s. They were both assistants together, and
in the Celtics, I think.
I can't remember for the life of me, but it could have been. They are a perfect duo, for a perfect coaching duo, and for one reason and one reason only. Thibodeau is a great defensive mind, and Terry Stotts is a great offensive mind. The two of them intertwined. It's going to be a great team. And since the Knicks signed Terry Stotts as the assistant, we are going to trade Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, Mitchell Robinson, and some picks for that boy Damian Lillard. We're going to make a move for Damian Lillard, and it's going to be the Portland Knicks over there with Obi and Emmanuel Quickly.
I don't know.
I think you're a bit delusional there, Justin. I don't think Dame is leaving for a second. I don't think Portland would want to get rid of him either, because being, such a small market team, and they have this once in a generation talent, I think that's safe enough to say. I think that, as long as they have Dame, they're going to be competitive. I think the coaching change was the right move because, obviously they're making the playoffs every year, but a Dame and CJ duo will make the playoffs with any coach, I feel like, regardless. So, with the Hawks, since they had gotten Nate McMillan, you've seen how they've improved like drastically. And I think Portland is hoping for a similar situation like that, where maybe they can tap into what they've been missing this whole time. I can't really give an answer to that, but that could maybe change things around. But at the same time, I do also have a doubt that the Portland Trailblazers are going to be the same team for the next 5 years as they have been for the previous 5 years. Just making the playoffs, just not being good enough to, get over the hump. And I guess we'll see. What kind of players that they end up getting, but they need another elite talent next to Dame. And I like CJ a lot, but I just don't think he would be the second guy on that championship team.
Yeah, I've always thought their roster was like a little redundant with him and CJ. Like they're kind of similar players. They're both ball dominant players, shot creators that don't play great defense. I don't know. I feel like you got to find a better partner for him as, a 1-2. Like, back when they had LaMarcus Aldridge, I feel like that was like when Dame and that Portland team had like the best shot of really making noise in the playoffs, just because they're a 1-2 punch. Now it's like, I don't know.
Well, guess what happens when Dame comes over to New York? He's going to have Julius Randle to play with.
Oh my goodness. I mean,
He's a
hey, I'm
better
not gonna
1-2
lie.
punch.
Like that would be actually a pretty good fit because I think that Knicks team would make up for a lot of things, lack thereof on defense. And then at times when you need him, he could carry you offensively because that was like it would be a match made in heaven almost. But I just don't know how realistic that is because I just really don't. You would really have to sell the whole farm for Damian Lillard, really, if you're the Knicks.
I mean,
you would have nothing left.
maybe not even. All Dame has to do is say, "I want to be traded to New York," and we could really trade anything we want to get him there. That's what they did with James Harden. They gave him the bottom of the crumbs at the bottom of the chip bag and said, "Here, take him."
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like those are two different situations, though. Just because
Not really. All Dame has to do is rage quit and say, "I can't win here. This team isn't good enough," and then he gets traded.
James Harden was like not putting in any effort, like when he was on the Rockets earlier this season. Like he just did not care. Like I think it's a little different. I think in that.
Yeah, because Lillard, I feel like wants to be in Portland.
Yeah.
And like Harden, where he was like, I don't want to be here anymore at all. So it's going to be a crazy off season for both Boston and Portland. I don't think there's going to be a lot of familiar faces in either of those teams come next year, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with those two teams and the rest of the league. But now that we kind of get those two things out the way, I want to kind of dive into a few of the first round playoff series that we got to watch and hand out some superlatives, some awards. And I kind of came up with these myself thinking I thought they would be pretty funny. So first one, the why is the first round still a best of 7 series award, which is essentially the award for the series that you guys had no interest in watching, a series that you kind of knew the winner or the outcome, and you really just couldn't wait for that team to advance to the next round. So of all the first round series, which one was really just the worst?
Personally, Nets and Celtics. I knew Nets would win it, and if they didn't sweep them, the Celtics would only get one game. I don't even know if I watched like probably a quarter of game 4.
Now, I'll disagree with that a little bit.
Obviously,
from a fan standpoint, it was interesting to see how the big three stars would mesh together, considering James Harden had just gotten back. But I understand why, the average fan wouldn't want to watch that series. For me,
you calling me an average fan, Toby?
Well, you're not a Nets fan, so it's different. But for me, I would say it would be the Sixers Wizards, and not that I think that Bradley, Beal, and Westbrook are trash or they were going to get swept, but we all knew what the outcome was going to be. They weren't going to make it to the second round. If anything, they were going to maybe steal 1 or 2 games. And it's, the same old Sixers. We all know what they're about. So that was the series that I only watched maybe 1 game in.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you. I think it was either between those 2 series. But if I had to pick, I think I would probably choose the Nets Celtics because I just knew right away, there's absolutely no way, especially with losing Jaylen Brown. I just knew the Celtics weren't gonna do anything in that series. And Justin, you even said it, it's probably gonna be Nets in 5 because Jason Tatum's probably gonna have 1 good game where the Nets just can't do anything against him. And that's exactly what happened. It was just so predictable. Yeah. Unlike the Sixers Wizards, where it kind of got interesting because Embiid got hurt, and then they're like, "Wow, can the Wizards actually win Game 5?" But then it was whatever. No, but yeah, those 2 are probably the best answers. But now we can move on to the 2013 Golden State Warriors Overachiever Award, which is first of all, a little background. In 2013, before they won their first championship, the Golden State Warriors, led by 24-year-old Steph Curry, upset the third-seeded Denver Nuggets in the first round of the NBA playoffs. So this award just goes to the team that you guys think best exemplifies that team spirit, and a team that could potentially be on the cusp of a championship run in the near future. So of all those first-round teams that, obviously played, which team do you guys think could, who do you think deserves this award?
I think we should all have the same answer here. Especially if all these things that I've been saying throughout the episode fall into place, like Damian Lillard coming to the Knicks. I think the Knicks should get this award because at the beginning of the season, everybody was saying, "Oh, you're not even going to make the play-in. You guys are going to be trash." Everybody was counting us out. And then what do? Home court advantage in the playoffs for the first time in like 8 years. And we got an all-NBA player on our hands. All we got to do is get this Damian Lillard trade going, and we're going to have ourselves a little dynasty here.
Okay.
Toby, what do you have to say?
So I'm not sure if this is the same answer that Jorie you're going to give, but I had to say the Nuggets. And simply for the fact that obviously they were missing Jamal. But with that, the other players understood that they had to step up and, fill that void that they had when they had Jamal. Specifically a player like Michael Porter Jr., who I think had a great, at least few games in that series, especially that last game where he had like 22 in the first. And I do, if they have a healthy squad, obviously they have an MVP candidate. I think that they will be on the cusp of winning a championship in the future, possibly in the next, 5 years.
Yeah, I think it was between the Nuggets. I'm surprised you said the Knicks, Justin, to be honest. I thought you would go a different route, but it was between two teams, the Nuggets and the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Atlanta Hawks are almost, it's funny because, you can see the resemblance of Steph and Trey, but like that team, and Justin, this is something you've said in the past, like Atlanta built their roster so well and all they need is time. And like, it's kind of coming into fruition now. Like you see them, it's the same roster they've always had. It's just they've grown as a team. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but they just won game one of their second round series against the Sixers. Like, I feel like this team is a lot closer to a championship run than people might expect, especially if, they bring back Nate McMillan and all their players continue to improve. They've even dealt with some injuries like, Cam Reddish, who was a lottery pick. We don't even know like what his ceiling is. DeAndre Hunter dealt with injuries. So like this team, there's still a lot of unknown. That being said, they're still doing very well for a young team, led by a very young player in Trae Young. So I like the Nuggets pick. I respect that a lot. I appreciate that. But I think I'm gonna give this to the Hawks. But I'll give the Nuggets a little bit of love later, I think.
I'm glad you gave me my respect, Jorie, because I swear I've really been saying that give the Hawks. I think it was the year before they drafted Trae Young. I was like, give them 2, 3, 4 years, and they're going to be a solid playoff team. I've been saying it.
Yeah. They just built their team so well. Like, they really just built their team perfectly.
Who's the GM of the Hawks?
That's a wonderful question. I'll have to get back to you.
All right. Yeah, get back to me.
After this award. So this next award, the 1994 Denver Nuggets Seattle Supersonics First Round Series Memorial Award. Very long name. But as you can expect, this award is just going to go to the team that ultimately had the best, quote unquote, upset in the first round. There wasn't a lot of like seeded upsets, but I think there's one team in particular that I'm thinking of that was kind of viewed as a team that might not move on and ended up moving on anyway. So
I think we got the same
either of you
idea,
guys can
Jorie.
start.
I think I got the same idea as you, Jorie.
All right, go ahead, Justin.
Well, let's have Toby go first. I don't know if he's got the same idea.
I think I got the same
All right.
idea.
All right. Well, then let me
Okay,
say
I
it for
think we're
everybody
all on
then.
the same page.
The Phoenix Suns, baby.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes,
Suns.
sir.
Was there even one besides, the Hawks beating the Knicks, whatever, 4 or 5 seed? Was there any seeded upsets this year in the first round?
I don't think there were, no. Surprisingly.
Yeah, besides the Hawks.
Yeah, besides 4 or 5 seed, who even cares? But yeah, Suns. I really didn't think for a second that they would even. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I said it would go 6 games. But if people are going to be talking about this for years, I think if Anthony Davis didn't go down, who knows?
I know.
Yeah.
They would have still lost.
Damn. Okay.
Nah,
Before I continue, Justin, to answer your question, the general manager of the Hawks is Travis Schlenk.
No clue who that is,
So
but Travis is going off. So
Yeah,
I'll give him.
good Travis. But yeah, dude, the Suns. No one saw them beating the Lakers. I don't know if anyone. I mean, I think a few people maybe predicted the Suns to win this series, but
I think I did. If we look back at the,
I definitely didn't.
That's besides the
point. But I mean, they overcame, and now, I mean, again, we'll get into all the second round matchups a little bit later, but they have a legit shot at making the Western Conference Finals now. Now that they took down the Lakers, LeBron, I'm happy for the Suns, to be honest. And again, this might be Chris Paul's best shot at winning a championship. We'll see. And Devin Booker's been on another level, I think. He had like 47 points, I think, in that closeout game. Or maybe, I think that might have been Game 5. Game 5 or Game 6, he had like 47 points. So.
I'm pretty sure it was Game 6.
Yeah, it might have been.
And now they're playing the Clippers, right?
No, they play Denver.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they play the Nuggets.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. Again, we'll get into our predictions in a moment, but they got
shout out DeAndre Ayton. Shout out DeAndre Ayton. That guy made a huge jump this year. You love to see it.
Oh yeah. The whole 2018 draft class, if you think about it, Trae Young, Luka, and DeAndre Ayton have been balling out this postseason. Represent, man. So, but lastly, for our last superlative, we have the 2009 Boston Celtics Chicago Bulls first round series Memorial Award, which is essentially, I mean, this playoff series from 2009 was regarded as one of the best playoff or first round playoff series ever. It was, the reigning champion Boston Celtics versus the rookie Derrick Rose. It went 7 games. Ray Allen had a 51-point game in this series. I think there was 7 overtime periods in total throughout the whole series. So it was just a really great back and forth playoff series. That being said, this award is just going to go to who you guys thought had the best playoff series. So of all the first round matchups, what do you guys think? Which one was the most entertaining?
In my opinion, Mavs Clippers. Mavs Clippers, I've never seen anything like it. When have you ever seen the away team win the first 6 of the 7 games?
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened. I'm pretty sure that's never happened in NBA history.
That's insane. That's really insane. But yeah, Luka was doing his thing. Kawhi and PG were doing their thing. It was just very exciting. High scoring, high volume, all types of fun stuff.
And I remember sending that graphic to you guys about how when the road team wins the first 2 games, they're like 27-4 in the playoffs or something. So for the fact that the Clippers came back and won this series is pretty crazy, because that's literally only happened 4 other times in NBA history. So I mean, after, a pretty bad choke job last year, I think they might have bounced back. And again, I'm excited to talk about these second round series. But is that your answer too, Toad?
Yeah, that's my answer too. And I at first didn't think the series was going to go 7 games. And I was actually super nervous when it did to see how the Clippers would react. Would they fold like they did last year, or have they learned and, are they going to just not feel that pressure going into game 7? And it turns out, obviously they were able to get the job done. So I definitely think that was the most fun series to watch, especially since, like you said, 0 home teams won until game 7. And it kind of just led to, like, you have no idea who's going to win this next game. It's, super crucial. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was definitely up there, but I have to say, as a fan of this team, the Nuggets Blazers series was my favorite to watch because, I mean, game 5 of that series might have been the best game of the entire first round. The double overtime game in which Dame had 55 points. He hit an NBA record 12 threes. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was also the first 55 10 assist playoff game ever.
Damn.
It was crazy. Like, and somehow the Nuggets won. Somehow the Nuggets won that game with Dame having literally one of the best playoff games of all time.
Let me tell you this. If Dame comes over to New York Knicks, teammates are not going to shoot 2 for 19 overtimes. I'll tell you that. The rest of the Portland Trailblazers during those overtimes shot a total of 2 for 9.
I don't know, that offense was struggling pretty,
I mean, how could it? You got Damian Lillard and the greatest offensive player of all time, Carmelo Anthony, on your team. How do you have a hard time getting any offense together?
I mean, I'm talking about your Knicks. I'm talking about they couldn't score against the Hawks.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's because we don't have Damian Lillard.
Okay. I got you.
All I'm saying is if Dame comes to the Knicks, when he needs his teammates, they'll be there. We might not be able to do it without him, but with him, we'll be there when he needs us.
Okay, fair enough. Easier said than done.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, now for this is probably what I'm most excited for. Predicting the second round. We're gonna start with the series. Well, I guess the 2 series that already started, but the first game from yesterday, or on Saturday, Bucks Nets game 1. Nets picking up the win despite losing James Harden 43 seconds into the game, and I'm pretty sure he's also out for game 2. But to be honest, like, everyone's gonna view that as a negative kind of, and it is because it's James Harden. But I feel like the Nets are more than prepared to play without him, considering they did basically all season. So I don't know. I don't think it's that huge as it would be if it were another team to lose their superstar. But that being said, what are your guys' predictions for this series? Again, we already know Nets are up 1-0 right now, but what's your guys' prediction for this series?
Well, I guess I'll start off since I'm the Nets fan here. First off, I was very, very happy with the way they played in their last game. I thought Blake Griffin looked the best he's ever looked as a net, or at least in recent times. And if they can continue to play like they're playing, I can see the Nets winning in 6, realistically. Now, when they head over to Milwaukee, I think, being in obviously the away court, I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge for them. But I don't see them losing at home, especially, if they play the way that they've been playing. The one thing that does scare me, though, is the Bucks could have gotten buckets anytime they wanted to. If they just passed to Giannis or Brook, the Nets were getting destroyed in the paint. And obviously we weren't playing DeAndre Jordan, who could help with that, but that's the only concern I have, heading into the next few games in this series. So I say Nets in 6.
All right. What about you, Jeff?
I'm going to give your Nets team a little bit more props than you did, Toby. I think these bum-ass Bucks might get one game. I think it's going to be Nets in 5. And, this is going to sound ridiculous, but losing James Harden helps the Nets more than it hurts them for plenty of reasons. One, Blake Griffin said it himself last night in the post-game interview. He said,
a cold take.
no, it's not. I swear to God. Blake Griffin said himself last night in the post-game interview, everybody knows, they've played without James Harden all year. We've, you guys touched on this for a bit. They've been playing without James Harden all year. All the guys coming off the bench and, anybody taking his spot, they know what to do already. They, it's not even they don't even got to warm up. They're like, all right, James Harden went out, whatever. Let's just do what we've been doing anyway. And another reason why it helps, the Bucks aren't going to be able to game plan. The Bucks are nobody's going to know until game day whether or not he's going to play in game 2, 3, 4, whatever. They're never going to know. So they're going to have to keep switching up their game plan depending on whether or not he's playing.
Okay.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I feel like it's just to say losing James Harden is a positive for this team is just kind of crazy. You
guys aren't just as open-minded, and your third eye isn't open yet.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you're still wrong.
Yeah, I feel like one thing you said, the only thing that concerns you, Tobe, is the fact that, well, honestly, I'll give my prediction first. I told you I'm riding with the Bucks. I believe in the Bucks even after they lost this game. I'm saying Bucks in 6.
Okay.
Bucks in 6. I think they get one. They have to get at least one game in Brooklyn, obviously, and just win out at home. But because I think if it goes 7, I think the Nets will win at home in a game 7. But I think the Bucks can win in 6. But the Bucks lost 107 or 115 to 107, and they shot 6 of 30 from 3 yesterday. And like you said, Cope, Blake Griffin had arguably the best game of his Nets career. Those two things are just not going to happen again in this series. So, and the fact that the Bucks only lost by 8 points on the road when shooting, again, 20% from 3. I mean, and like you said, they can get buckets anytime they want in the paint. I just don't think the Nets are going to be able to hold up defensively against them.
Okay, fair enough.
And without James Harden, that makes their defense not easier because still you have Kyrie and Durant to deal with. But you don't have to have Drew Holiday on Harden. You don't have to have Chris Middleton on Harden. You can have those defenders on someone like Joe Harris or something. So it just makes the defense even easier. But I think the Bucks can win this series.
They're definitely going to have to make some changes, at least matchup-wise, because they were playing Giannis on Kyrie. Obviously, that wasn't working. Kyrie was going off in the first quarter.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Drew Holiday had a poor game. I will say that. He didn't look like his usual self. And same with Middleton, too, at least offensively. Now, Justin, you said that without Harden, it's better for the Nets. Kyrie played 45 minutes in their last game, and I don't want him to play 45 minutes every single night, especially in playoff basketball. So that's just one reason, why we want Harden back. And obviously with the second unit, Kyrie had to take that spot where it's usually Harden working with the bench players. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Well, I mean, I understand where you're coming from with the minutes thing because that guy Tibbs plays all the starters like 40 plus minutes, but it is playoff basketball. Would you want Kyrie playing as much as he can?
Kind of, but
Because
like,
he isn't Kyrie, like, he's healthy. He doesn't have any problems with him right now.
he's healthy, but he's in the past he hasn't been like the most what's the word I'm looking for?
Reliable.
Yeah.
Maybe not reliable, but like he's gotten injury prone in the playoffs in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus with him being like a little bit older, obviously he's not old yet, but just, the last thing I would want to see is Kyrie getting injured, and then that's basically our season. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of injuries, I think we can kind of transition into the next series now because, well, we already saw game one. Again, game one happened today of this series. The Sixers versus the Hawks. And we mentioned the Hawks got the dub, 4-point win. I mean, it was very close at the end. They almost choked the game at the end of that one, but the Hawks prevailed. What are your guys' predictions for this series? I am very concerned about the Sixers. Very concerned because I don't think that Embiid's injury is going to get any better throughout the series. And he looks fine today, but it's only going to get worse from here, I think. But what do you guys think? Who wins the series?
Justin, what do you think? Because you're making a face right now.
I'm making a face because I wanted the Sixers to sweep this clown Trae Young. But now I don't even know if the Sixers are going to win the series. I'm sorry, I can't even give a prediction on this. I don't even know. We'll just say Sixers in 7.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Because I'm gonna go bold, and I'm saying the Hawks are gonna win the series, especially after taking game one on the road, in pretty convincing manner for at least the first 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also important to note that Embiid at the end of the game looked like that knee was definitely bothering him because, well, at least in like the last 2 minutes of the game, there was a play where he landed on his knee, and after that he was walking with it a little differently than he had been the whole game. So I don't know if I don't even know if like they're probably gonna play him, but he's definitely not 100%. Clint Capella's definitely definitely giving him more problems than they had with
Robin Lopez.
Yeah. So
Daniel Gafford.
And then
I like Gafford though. I like Daniel.
Yeah, and then I just don't think like they had troubles guarding Trae Young, which every team is going to have. But with all those defensive players I was mentioning earlier in the season, they're going to have to step up. Otherwise, I'm saying Hawks in 7. Hawks in 7. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I am going to have to go with you, Tobe, except I think they get it done in 6 games. Because I genuinely believe Embiid is going to miss at least 1 game. And I don't know, it's probably bad to like predict injuries, but again, like you said, that knee, and like it definitely didn't look like he was like 100%. And the Hawks won without DeAndre Hunter today. They're starting, like forward. And I think he might be the best player on this team to defend Ben Simmons. They had Bogdanovich on Ben Simmons for a lot of this game. If they get Hunter back and neutralize Ben Simmons, and then Embiid potentially misses like some time, like this series could be a lot shorter than people think. So I'm gonna go Hawks in 6.
I can't take this. Sixers in 5. Sixers in 5.
Sixers in 5.
You
You think they're
just
gonna
gonna sweep them the rest of the way?
No.
Yeah, I can't tell you how upset I was at work today when I got the notification that the Hawks won, because I went on break I went on break and was able to watch the game up until like the last minute. It was a 4-point game. It was this. I think the Sixers were even winning. The Sixers, or no, it was 10. It was 108 to 104. I can't remember who was up, but I was watching it, and then my break ended, so I had to turn it off. And some dude came in with a Ben Simmons jersey on, so I was like, "Oh, they probably won." And then I get off work and I look at my phone and I'm like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, crazy, man.
No.
It's really crazy.
No, okay, no.
Sixers and 5.
No, real. I'm gonna stick with my first one. I'm gonna stick with the first Sixers and 7.
Okay.
I mean, I respect it. I just like the Hawks this year, dude. I really do.
Same. I just love some of the role players in the Hawks.
Yeah,
they have so many good ones. Like,
I haven't had to deal with this because the Knicks stink and never make it to the playoffs, but I don't even hate. I really actually really like the Hawks. I like most of the players on the Hawks, but I cannot stand them winning anymore.
Yeah, that's what the playoffs do, man. Well, now in the Western Conference, the 2 series tomorrow or Monday, I guess, when you're hearing this, is the game 1 of this series of the Nuggets Suns. This is going to be an interesting series. Jokic willed that team to a first-round victory over the Blazers, as we mentioned earlier, but the Suns are a completely different animal. And Jokic even said, you know, Justin, you mentioned DeAndre Ayton earlier. Jokic said, I'm pretty sure that he's the toughest center to play against, that he's played against this season. And it's evident by the fact that against DeAndre Ayton this season, he shot 38% against DeAndre Ayton in 3 games. That's like, I'm pretty sure one of his worst against any individual center. So, and DeAndre Ayton like doesn't get in foul trouble ever somehow. So like it's gonna be a struggle for Jokic, I think. But what do you guys think?
You might not like this, Jorie, but Suns in 5. I think Devin Booker, 35 a night. 35 a night for Devin Booker. He's going to be the reason why you guys lose. DeAndre Ayton, he'll be trying his best to stop Jokic, but put up 15 points a game.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to like stop Jokic entirely.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be probably the hardest matchup he's had in a while.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton, he's going to put up 15. Chris Paul's going to put up 15, but Devin Booker, 35 a night. I guarantee it.
I think this series is going to be closer. I think this series is going to be closer than Justin's giving it credit for. I'm saying I'm still going to stick with the Suns, but I'm saying, and this is like super close, but I'm saying Suns in 7. I just feel like, and definitely if they had Jamal Murray, obviously it would be a different story. But I like the matchups that the Suns have, and them having such a defensive presence. Obviously, like Justin said, Devin Booker is going to go off. I think Chris Paul is also going to go off this series. And yeah, that's just what I think. I just think, the better team is going to win.
I respect it. I don't know. I feel like it would be, I love the Nuggets, but I feel like it would be foolish to pick them against a team this well-rounded. So I'm going to say Suns in 6, and I picked 6 games in each series so far. I don't know how, but that's just how I think it's going to go. I think Jokic is good enough to get them 2 games. But the reason why I didn't say 7, because I think if Jokic gets to a game 7 somehow, he's not losing. He's just not losing a game 7. I'll tell you that. Like that's just not what he does. So
I guess we'll have to wait and see eventually.
So that's why I think it's going to be Suns in 6.
I don't know,
but yeah,
I really do think the Nuggets can win this series. I really do.
And there's also a possibility that Will Barton comes back this series.
Oh,
He's
well,
injured.
that changes things because I really thought you guys weren't going to have anybody to guard Devin Booker. I really thought you were going to.
That's going to be the toughest thing because it's. I mean, yeah, that's not going to be fun.
You know what? Shout out to, how do you say his name? Facundo Campazzo.
Yes, sir. Baku.
I was really hating on that guy the first time I saw him, but that guy is sick. He's like the next
nice.
Pablo Prigioni.
Yeah, I love that guy.
30-year-old rookie. What do we say?
He's a lot of fun. All right. Lastly, the other two teams left in the conference, in the Western Conference, and this game one is on Tuesday, I believe. The Jazz and Clippers. This could potentially be a very fun series. It could also be a blowout, I think. But what do you guys think? What are your predictions for Utah versus Los Angeles?
I'm gonna say Jazz in 6, possibly even 5. And I like the Clippers a lot. I think a lot of people don't give them enough credit for how good they are or how close they are to being a championship team. But this year, I think is the year for the Jazz. I really do. I just think that, like Jorie, you mentioned how the Suns were so well-rounded. I think I look at the Jazz as being like possibly the most well-rounded team, especially considering that they're the best defensive team in the league probably. And Justin's shaking his head, but they're going to give Kawhi and PG problems. Like they have a lot of length. If they get a couple games on the Clippers, it's going to be hard for the Clippers to respond. And obviously they have home court advantage. So I'm sticking with the Jazz. I'm going to say Jazz in 6.
I disagree with so many things about that, Toby.
Okay.
First of all, don't ever disrespect the Knicks like that. We're the best defensive team in the league. Second of all, do it too, Jorie. You do it too. You get both of you clowns hype up the Jazz way too much. I think Shaq was spitting facts when he said that they don't have it in them. I don't think they do. I don't think they have the grit and the dog and I don't think they got it in them. I just don't think they do. And you know who I know has it in him? Kawhi Leonard.
Yes,
that man. I think it was game 6. Game 6, the guy just, demon time, went into robot Kawhi mode. Kawhi bot. They're not going to do anything to stop him. I promise you. Yeah, we saw what happened in Toronto. Kawhi is a different man in the playoffs.
I think you're going to be happy to hear this, Justin. I think I'm going to take the Clippers in this series.
By the way,
I've been hyping up the Jazz.
Clippers in 5.
Yeah,
Clippers in 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit more bold than I am. I say Clippers in 7. I think Kawhi he might be the best player left in the playoffs, or at least performance-wise. He was hooping against the Mavericks. I mean, in the playoffs. I know Jokic is the MVP. I know Durant and Giannis are still but like the way that he's been playing in the playoffs this year has been literally insane. So, and you said, I know they're a good defensive team, but I feel like at some point we have to expose the Jazz, because last year against the Nuggets, Jamal was having 50-point games against them. And then this year against the Grizzlies, John Morant had he was averaging 35 points a game against them, again, without a jump shot. At what point can we say they don't stop any superstars, and they might be going up against the best and most efficient superstar in the playoffs right now in this series? So that's very concerning to me.
And let's think about it. Who plays at Kawhi's position on the Jazz? Bogdanovich,
they have
Ingles,
O'Neal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think they're going to be able to stop Kawhi. And
All
if
right.
Paul
Royce
George is
O'Neal is
even
gonna
half decent, I think the series should be over even quicker than 7 games.
Royce
I'm gonna
O'Neal
say
is going to
Clippers in
do what he can because he's actually he's a pretty solid defender. I'll give him that. But Joe Ingles and Bogdanovich, like what?
Okay,
They're
but
not doing nothing against Kawhi.
who would have thought that the Mavericks were going to take them to 7 games? Who would you have said that would have
Well-
been their stopper? Like, obviously they've
I'm pretty sure on the episode with just me and Jorie, I said it was going to be a 6-game series. The only reason it went 7 was because nobody wanted to win on their home floor.
Nobody. Yeah. I
But
don't
you
know.
think-
I also think the Clippers are like a different team than last year. You know, they're more motivated. So I don't know. A lot of
Don't get me wrong,
intangibles.
Toby. That series never should have went 7 games. But the reason that it did was just so like it'll probably never happen again.
Okay, you guys are going to be wrong, but we'll see.
We'll see. These second round series are going to be fun. But
Which one are you most excited for?
I mean, as a Nuggets fan, probably Nuggets Suns.
Yeah.
But I think Jazz Clippers is going to be. I mean, actually, no. I'd say Bucks Nets. Probably because I have a feeling the Bucks can win that.
Nah,
But we'll see.
I might have to agree with you, Jory. Honestly, I'm really excited for all of the series. Not so much the Sixers Hawks because I really want the Sixers to win, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like that much fun. The Nets, that's going to be fun because I want to see the Nets lose. Even though I said they would win, I want to see them lose. The Clippers are going to win. They're going to get a fat dub against the 1 seed, and the Suns are they're fun to watch.
Yeah. It's going to be a good series, man. It's going to be a good second round. But yeah, that's it.
Oh,
That's everything.
So funny if the Nets got bounced in the second round.
It's not happening. It's not going to happen. Like, you guys got to chill.
Oh no, I know it's not going to happen, but it would be great if it did.
I'm gonna remember this. Don't worry.
Hold on, before we move on to anything, I wanted to throw in one last thing about the Nets Bucks series. The Bucks are only here because Jimmy Butler didn't want to play basketball or whatever. The only reason that the Bucks are here is because Jimmy Butler had the worst 4 games of his whole life. If Jimmy Butler played even half as well as he did last year in their series, I don't even think the Bucks would be in the second round right now.
I mean, they
got
swept them and convinced.
Yeah, they got swept. I don't know how much Jimmy Butler really could have changed the series. But
Because the guy didn't even average 15 points per game and shot like 30% on the series.
I do think that he is a little overrated offensively, but he's still like, I think he's still a superstar in this league.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people saying some crazy stuff about Jimmy, so
it's because of how bad he played. I agree with you. He's still a superstar. Everybody has bad day teams that they can't play well against, but we saw last year, so that's why I'm saying.
I mean, we also have to consider the Lakers and the Heat were the final 2 teams to play. They had the shortest off season, and they're, I don't know if that's a direct result, but they were the first to get knocked out.
Yeah.
So
eliminated in the first round. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
excited.
Anything else before we sign off?
No, sir.
Nets in 5, but that's it.
All right. Jokic is going to win the MVP this week. I can't wait to see him host that trophy up. But all right. That's everything. Peace out.
Game to the Knicks.
From myself, Jorie Mickens, and my 2 co-hosts, Justin Sadovi and Chris Tobias, thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Fullcourt Report NBA show. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at FullCReport, on Instagram at the.fullcourt.report. Like and comment on this video and subscribe so you never miss a minute of action.